Right, just testing sound a little bit. Hello, hello. Yeah, I think we're good. It's been a little while. Hello everybody, how's it going? I thought, like I did all of those videos about how I was creating this piece, and I realized that I never actually finished it. Like I finished the piece and I put a picture and all that, but I never actually explained, showed the last bits. And the reason was that I was pretty pretty focused on it, to be honest. Just getting my chats started, Twitch and YouTube, so in case anyone says hi. Yeah, and I realized that like I never explained it, I never went through what I did in the end and all of that. So I've got the spectator camera now. I'm going to switch to my head camera. There we go. Right, so this was the end of it. This was how I finished it. The last thing you probably saw was me creating the first parts of the flash. So let me get you a bit of a close-up of it so you can start looking at it. Hopefully you get a good image here. So there's a couple of things that were a bit of a challenge, and I'll talk to you about how I went through it and how I started, what kind of my workflow was. So the first thing I did was I realized one of the big challenges was going to be the head, just keep having kind of like a proportional head and having kind of the shape of it and all of that. So what I did is I first went into Google Blocks and I made a, sorry, we got a new interface now, and I'm still getting used to it. But talking at the same time as you do this. There we go. There it is, right in my face. Okay, so I went into Google Blocks and I made this thing. So this thing was an attempt at getting a bit of a shape to work with, right? And I'll be very honest with you. You'll notice a lot of things wrong with it, and that's because I didn't take much time to actually get proportions right or anything like that. I kind of went with it and hope that something will come out okay. And also it's very simple. It's very simple in the sense that you got this kind of like circles for the shoulders. I kind of wanted to have some kind of joints to give me an idea of where things were connecting. The hands I'm quite happy with. They look quite alright, I think. And so what I did is I put it here. And the first thing I did is I kind of took a brush like the wire brush, and I started very slowly kind of like drawing the contour of the face, almost wireframing what I thought was going to be the kind of the different parts of the head. I used black and I used a very thin one, and I took a lot of time with that. There's a lot of things I could have done easier. For instance, I could have got a mirror straight away, put the mirror here and worked on that. And the challenge with that is that when you get the mirror up, the mirror is in a particular place. Now these mirrors will move around a lot, so this won't be the starting place. The thing is that what I realized is that when you get the mirror out, you put the mirror appears in your base place, right? And so you start drawing. And the first mistake I made was to say, okay, I'm done with it for now. I'm going to put it away and I'll bring it later. That's it. You've ruined it. Because I don't know how to, then maybe there's a way, but I haven't figured it out yet. When you want to go back to it, and if you want to carry on with your mirror, you're off center. You're guaranteed to be off center. So what you actually should be doing when you're using the mirror is very simply just turn it on and off. Like so. You're done with it, you get rid of it, and you bring it back and it's in the exact same position and you can carry on. So the next question is like how the other thing I realized was that right, this shape is not mirror. You can't mirror this shape, right? But one approach I had when I was making this was the idea of making things kind of modular. So the head is the head, the body is the body, and the arms are the arms. You know, they're separated. They're almost separate units. Although they kind of now look like they are part of themselves, they actually were fairly independent to a degree when I was making. So what you can do is you start there and you do your head, and then you switch there and you do that part, or you just get a full, you know, I've got another one that I've been using for some other things. I've been playing around a lot with using shapes. I've got this other shape that I was using. And with this one, what you do is I just took this side and I just mirrored this side. This was here because I wanted to have a reference in case I wanted to do some kind of other like positioning, just to get a bit of a reference. But then with this, you can very easily kind of like draw the different areas. Yeah, and I started very slowly with the head. That's the other thing. You'll find if you start getting started with it, you can go like really slowly doing your lines. You kind of need to try to be a bit more relaxed. Like I like to draw a lot in 2D, and I'm quite used to that. When I draw in 2D, I'm very relaxed and I draw very, very relaxed. But when I'm doing this, I was really slowly trying to get it right. You kind of need to find a way to, like, you know, get your shapes in one go as much as you can, because the problem is that when you start going slow, you introduce like a bit of like jitter and a bit of, you know, there's a different, unless you're used to painting like with a paintbrush. If you're used to drawing, I draw very close to the paper and I go very close to my face into a large degree, and so to suddenly do this means that I have, and you can see me, but you suddenly have your whole arm to worry about, you know. Whereas when you're drawing, you kind of have your hand, yeah, and you kind of like just using your hand to draw, and so you have kind of like, you usually have this element here of rotation, which is your wrist, you know, and you have kind of like this area here, your fingers. You can do kind of some kind of movement there that's very precise. But when you're working with this, the precision becomes a lot harder. There are ways to do it. I tend to sit on the floor where I can be comfortable, or in a chair, and I tend to work things macro, like this has been duplicated. Get things really big, like grab this guy and make it really big and work there, you know, and then it becomes a lot easier, because then you can use longer strokes and work a lot easier. So anyways, so I drew the guy, drew the kind of the wireframe that I wanted to have for the head, and then I was trying to figure out, how do you paint? How do you know, this was my first time using it, and I wasn't very sure. So I started experimenting, and there's a few things you need to be very, very clear when you're painting here. Let's get rid of this guy. I think we got the picture. We're gonna leave this guy here for a while, for later, just in case we want to talk about it a bit more. The thing that you need to be have in mind is that there's different brushes, and the brushes behave differently with the source of light. Okay, so you've got a source of light, and the brushes behave differently. So watch me move the light, the source of light here, and watch that. Notice that only these kind of areas these kind of areas change in terms of the luminosity, but the face, for instance, doesn't. So you kind of need to make a decision here as to how you're going to paint things. If you use the marker, you can see it's flat. Yeah, there is no shading, there's no response to the light. It's a flat brush. What that means is that it's very easy to create something that looks flat, that doesn't, where you can't see any kind of like holes. Everything looks kind of like in shape. I just want to take a quick look at the video, see if we're recording. I think we're good. I think we're going to carry on. If anyone's watching, just say, hey, yes, it's all looking great. Cool. Anyways, so that is the marker. When you use the flat, and that marker is what you see I've used in the face, in that area. When you use the flat, you see that there is some shading. Okay? You can notice the moment you overlap a marker, a flat with another flat, at that moment you can start seeing shade appearing on the other side. And in the moment you move your lights around, that light moves away as well. So, keeping that in mind, you have a look around at the stuff that some people have made. Take a look at the work of Liz Edwards, for instance, some of those artists, and what you'll see is that some of them, what they do is they create an environment to work on. So what they seem to be doing is, I'm not sure what brush they use, I think it's a flat, and what they do is they create kind of like a closed environment to work on, right? Obviously they do it in a much larger scale, and then they work in here so that there's no light coming in. And so what you have here is the ability to do the shading yourself, right? And you can do that by creating this kind of like environment for yourself, which allows you to kind of like perhaps, I don't know, draw some stars, or create an environment of some sort. But the other way you can do it is just using the marker, and that's what I did for the face. So when you look at the face, you can see that the face is done with markers, whereas this has got shading. You can see the shadows coming in and all that. The face I actually do with the marker, and then I use different degrees of the color, different shades, and I myself drew the shade. The other thing I did that I think I've learned that I wouldn't do again is, you will see that in the head particularly, there's other areas I'm going to show you in a moment, but in the head particularly, when you start getting up close, all these little brush strokes. Now you can see all the little brush strokes there. Yeah. Now when you're looking at it here, I mean, it's no big deal, right? And if you use that same technique all over, it's fine. But what you can do is, I'm going to tell you why I did this, because this is a mistake from my part. When I was setting this up, I mean, I had Oculus for like very little time, and I didn't know that one of my sensors was turning off for some reason. It's just the setup. I had some issues with the setup. So what it meant is that I was working on this, and I was struggling. What I was finding is that the screen was shaking at some point, and I was like, but I'm facing forwards, I'm facing towards the sensors. Why can I not? Why does this thing keep losing me? And what happened was that I was working with a single sensor. Okay, and because of that, I was like, okay, let's just do quick. And so I was doing a lot of like little traces like that, and I ended up with that, right? In the end, I mean, I'm happy with it generally, but I think it would have looked a lot cooler potentially if I had used bigger strokes and just more defined shapes, you know. But it gives it an artiness. Yes, I'm generally happy, as I say. What I'm not happy entirely with is more around the hands. You can see, as soon as you start getting closer and start looking in detail, there are things that could have been done a lot easier. And again, this is my mistake for using too many strokes. I was struggling with things. The body is a bit better done, although you can see some issues also kind of in that area there. But I learned a lot while doing just Barry, and the other thing I used in these particular cases, in the cases of the fingers, in the cases of these areas here, in the case of these areas here, so I use the guides. The guides are very good. So these are the guides, and the one I used a lot was the capsule. Now the capsule has two ways to stretch. You got this way to stretch, which is just makes it longer, and then this is the kind of proportional, where this kind of like shrinks it, and I think that's it. So you can shrink it like that, and then you can grab it from there and there, and you can turn it almost into a sphere, right? Anyway, so what I did is I kind of like took it from there, kind of made a sphere, a cylinder there, and I kind of like, again, I did the same thing that I'm talking about. So I used a flat, and I started first with a lot of patience, and then I started doing this. And what's the problem with this? When you do this, the brush is flat, and because the brush is flat, on a sorry, moving things out of my palette. Come back here. Stay there. Go. When you do that, the brushes are flat, and this surface is cylindrical, right? So you end up with bits of the brush like coming out of the surface because it's flat, right? And so you keep doing that, and you end up with this horrible thing. There's two or three ways to deal with this. One is you going in the direction. I mean, this is not right, but kind of going in the direction of the shape makes it a bit better. There's some issues you can see. You probably need to go a lot smaller to have a consistent shape, but you can see that is a little bit more acceptable in terms of not having too many lines, not having too many like shady bits. So I wish I'd done this. I think this would have looked a lot better as an arm. It would have looked a lot more kind of like a lot flatter, a lot more like what. Just remembering that this isn't I personally don't feel like this is sculpting, this is painting, and therefore kind of like trying to sculpt a three-dimensional shape out of with a brush. It's a challenge, right? So anyways, the guides are amazing. The guides help you do all of those things. The other thing I used the guides for was the eyes. So the eyes I was stressing out because I think eyes are, to me, I struggle drawing eyes. I struggle making eyes in a way that I feel happy with them in terms of them expressing the feeling that I want them to express. So what I did here is this. Let me show you. I'll go inside the head, and you can see here it's actually two spheres, and they were made using the guides. And the two spheres, if I select this one and select that, this is gonna go a bit horror mode for a moment. Spoopy Fridays. Yeah, so you can see it there. There's an eyeball, and I kind of positioned it and I played with it until I was happy, and I think it came out alright. I'm quite happy with it. I think it kind of like it gives you the feeling of vision, and then I had to like kind of do a bit of covering of some areas here that were a bit visible because of the shape of the strokes, and I was trying to be a bit too detailed there. Yeah, following on with some of the lines, I struggled a lot with this, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. I wasted a lot of time trying to replicate the kind of like pointy kind of shape of the costume. I started doing this thing where I was like, what was I doing? I was grabbing the wire tool, and I was doing kind of like this, right? And then what I was doing was selecting that, duplicating it, putting it next to it, and and so on. And I was like kind of like trying to produce some kind of weird kind of mesh. And yeah, I ended up giving up on that. It was just adding too much to the complexity of the drawing. I mean, you can see in settings here the size of the sketch. This was getting to I can't remember what the term is. I think it's Picasso or something like that. I can't remember. It was getting pretty crazy. Now, partially because of a common memory on my machine, but also I think I've simplified the sketch significantly since then. The other thing I did is you can see that I decided to add some lines in wire, and the property of the wire is that it behaves a lot like the marker in that it has a continuous shading and doesn't change. You can see that there's no shade over it there, and I'm quite happy with what it's done, because what I wanted to do was to create this sensation of, I feel like the wire helps give it a final shape, a kind of final form of to the body, and kind of like gives you helps your brain get an idea of the general shapes of the body. So that was another one. I spent little time, but I think I did something special for the symbols. I kind of used a flat surface, a flat guide, using a bit of a sphere to do the outside line, and then the flat to kind of like fill in the whites. And then I used the very useful straight edge to get some of those, some of the lining going as good a shape as possible. Now there's an interesting property that I am again absolute noob here, that I'm not entirely sure about the best way to do it. Let me just get rid of some of these things that I've been duplicating around here. Being a noob, sometimes I know, and that is that when you're drawing a straight edge, let me show you with a bigger. Let's get rid of this thing for now. When you're drawing straight edge, let me show you with a big brush. You can see that there's with the wire, there's a thin bit at the beginning, and it gets thicker towards the end. So what I was doing here is, in some cases, the lining that actually works, because you want one of the corners of the lining to be quite thin like that, yeah, and you want it to kind of go like that. So that's great. But there were other areas of the drawing, particularly in the shapes of the chest and all that, where I wanted to have a continuous shape, and I wasn't sure how to do it. So my workaround for it was to do this first, and then to do this. And so with that, you ended up with two lines, but it looks solid, right? And I did that for a lot of it, and I think I'm quite happy with the way it looks. And then when I was kind of prototyping this, I did an initial attempt where I was like, this is what I want to do, and I kind of did that very quickly, and I made a copy of him in there with very little changes, just changed the colors a little bit, and then I made another copy of him around here, and I said, right, this is a design of what I generally want to achieve. I took a picture of it. I don't know if I've got the picture in there. It wouldn't be here. It would be in the media library. It would be this one. So this was my kind of like rough sketch of what I wanted to achieve, and that was just doing a couple of duplications of the body. It took me a while because it was so detailed in some areas that I had to select a lot. It took a long time to select. And once I had that picture, I kind of put it there, and I started working, trying to put things in place. And I said this I did separately, outside of, I didn't record this one. I kind of needed to focus, I felt, and I wanted to get it done, and I did it all in one night. It was funny once you focus and once you know what you're doing, just let go, and you can get everything done. I think it was one night, or maybe 2 sessions. I'm not entirely sure. Right, this guy's gonna go there. So this is what I was using, and so there were other things I wanted to convey. So when I got to him, you can see that the hands on Barry They're using again, there's something they like to do better next time, but they're using the guide, the cylinder capsule guide, and I've just kind of like drawn very quickly on top of them, and that's how I created all the fingers. And that's got, you know, an open hand. This one is kind of more close, kind of like getting ready to push forward in the next stroke. But when I came to the Wraith, I wanted to do something a bit different, so I just simply got rid of the fingers and I went with something more simple, something a lot simpler, just line. So just like that. Let's get rid of the straight edge. Let's get rid of the mirror as well for now. So kind of like that, and then I kind of like do it underneath and on the other side. This is a marker, it's not a flat, but you get what I mean. And I got rid of a lot of the arm. I simplified it significantly. You can see that the hand doesn't have that cylindrical shape as much as that one does. I kind of wanted to do it a bit more, make it look a bit more torn. I had to move the head a bit. I got rid of some bits. I kind of moved some areas around by doing selection and moving, and I recolored it. And then I opened up the mouth, and in the mouth I kind of like added a bit of a tongue. I don't know if an undead would have a tongue, probably would be very shriveled. And I added some teeth very quick. I kind of wanted to do this as rough as possible because I wanted to, firstly, I had done quite a lot by then, but I also wanted to give it a bit more a feeling of it's a bit of a not so corporeal shape, if you know what I mean. Anyways, so that was the Wraith. The head is very similar, but again, I got rid of a lot of stuff. I simplified it a lot. My computer was complaining at that time, so I don't have my computer is enough for VR, but it's not. But that's pretty much it. And so I added some other stuff here. Added some smoke. The black smoke here appears white because that's just the composition of it, and then some splatters and some kind of like Speed Forcey kind of electricity going on him. So that was the Wraith. And then for the Reverse Flash, a lot of it is a copy of Barry, but you will see that the face is a bit different. He's got an angry gesture. The mouth is open. The mouth has teeth, to a degree. I tried to do something quite simple, but I wanted to be able to kind of like move around to a degree and be able to still make it look like it made sense. The eyes are still the same. I think I changed the color a bit. I redid a lot of the stuff. I recolored this. That kind of stays the same, but the body is really greatly simplified. I actually got rid of a lot of the extra detail that the Flash had, and you can see it in the arms, but they are a lot simpler as well. I kept this because I was quite happy beyond the fact that it's a huge load, but I think that the hand I was quite happy with. It actually does look fairly realistic in that sense, and I changed some of the design, some of the lines, tried to make it look more like the character from the TV series. So if you didn't realize, this is all fairly inspired by the TV series, particularly the lines that the suit uses and all of that. Probably the best Flash we've had for a while. What else? Then I wanted to get an idea of Reverse Flash kind of coming through some temporal rift or something, and so I created this kind of vortex where we have on the outside we have the disco effect, and then on the inside we have which one is that one? On the inside we have possibly there's a bit of velvet ink, I think, in some areas, and there's one which I think it could be neon. Is it neon? The neon pulse, and we need a different contrast. There's probably a bit of that potentially. I can't remember. There's one that is really particular for that is really good for it, but I'm not sure which one it is. And then, you know, the lining from the lining brush, the electricity brush. Yeah, straightforward. And I kind of like wanted to give it a bit of depth because I wanted to feel like, you know, that this is something that he's breaking through the fabric of reality, and he's coming out of a vortex, you know, trying to catch the Flash. The Wraith is also after the Flash, and then I wanted to put everything in some kind of setting, some kind of like floor, something to give it a grounding. I feel like the floor is what helps that character actually look like he's actually running, and I thought I need to be able to do that. And so I found, I think this is I was quite surprised by this brush. I think it was the oil paint. Yeah, what's going on? There we go. I think it's the oil paint. Either the oil paint or the thick paint. Maybe it's the thick paint. Yeah, it's thick paint. Thick paint is amazing. Thick paint looks great for this kind of like cementy, groundy, rocky, I'm not sure what it is looking thing, but it's also still in some kind of like whirlwind of distortion of some sort. And then, you know, the symbol just to add a bit more flavor to it. What else? So what things that I would have done differently? As I said, use the mirror better. The mirror. Well, hello, Soraka Healer. How you doing? Just doing my final video on this piece. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So things that I would have done differently would be to make better use of the mirror. So open the mirror, draw, close the mirror, and then bring it back, and then we'll do whatever you want. If you make the mistake that I made of moving the mirror, that's it. Yeah, very good, very good. Just resting after a crazy week. Watching a bit of Summer Games Done Quick, and I thought I'd do this tonight, get it done, and I can truly draw a line under this. I'm ready for TwitchCon, looking forward to it. Should be fun. Hope you're ready too. First time going, so it'll be interesting. Be nice to see some of the other people from the community. Looking forward to seeing Clemmy and the gang. And let's see what it's all about. So yeah, so use the mirror correctly, on and off. Yeah, don't get rid of the mirror, don't move the mirror. Once you move the mirror, that's it, you're gone. Strokes, try to do simpler strokes. Unless you like this kind of style, just use simpler strokes and longer strokes and bigger strokes. I think it kind of helps a shape like this to look a bit better. What else? Don't take so long. I took too long. I think I spent too long like trying to look at details and not actually just going with what works. Like looking at it from afar and thinking, does that look actually kind of like believable? Am I happy with that? And just, you know, just go with it. And having fun, I think, is very important on this. Now, what I want to do. So he is right now at this point, kind of my height. So we kind of like walk around the scene now, you know, and look at the situation. He's probably a bit taller than me right now, but I'm not particularly tall, anyways. Make him a bit shorter, like that. I obviously don't have a huge room, so I need to be careful that I don't bang my head with the wall. But you can see now. The idea of it, he's looking straight through his hand, and you can see if you move back, the Flash is right in front of him. That was my intention there, and the Wraith is looking right onto us here. Yeah, that was it. That's pretty much it on the my kind of suggestions and ideas and how I went about it. Yeah, and I just kind of like, just being silly, kind of signed it at the bottom. But I feel like I kind of would like to be able to have this in a in a kind of like, let's get rid of this guy, in a kind of like snow globe. Have this in a snow globe and have it on the table or something. But then you wouldn't be able to get this electricity going through, yeah? Anyways, that's it. It's just a short stream to close this idea down, and I just want to get on with next stuff. You know, the new brushes are pretty cool. I've been working on a few things. I don't know if I can show you right now. Let's see if this works. Sketchbook. So I've done a couple of things. One is this guy. Hopefully you can see it drawing right now. So this is a very quick sketch, you can see. But my intention was to see if I could make some kind of something like Kilowog, sticking to the theme of superheroes. I think he needs a bit more jaw. He probably needs a bit more. The nose is too elongated, you know. But you know, it was fun. It was one of the new volumetric brushes, the Hull brush. And then the other one I've done. This is the latest one I did today. When was it? Yesterday, today. So here you see the wireframing I was talking about earlier, that I cannot do first because it helps me get my head around how the drawing's gonna go. So that's the wireframing I normally do. The hand took me a while. I mean, I'm sure there's ways to skip this. It's probably the same thing as when you're starting with 2D drawing, and you're doing a lot of like basic shapes to get your head around things, and then suddenly you start just drawing straight away. And so this took a while. But yeah, this is our guy. I'm quite happy with the face. He looks very mischievous. I was gonna do one of my thoughts was, oh, and by the way, just to show you that that I have learned my lesson. When you open up the mirror is dead on in the center. My intention, or one of the ideas that I was playing around with, was kind of, let me see if I can get it to do it. Obviously there's a problem there, but the idea was to do a bit of a Loki. I think he looks mischievous enough to be Loki. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who he's gonna be. I think I'm actually gonna get rid of the helmet and I'm gonna start again. Just keep the face. I'm quite happy with the face. The only thing is the face looks great when you're looking there because the focus of the eyes is on you. So that works really well. And then when you start moving away or looking away, he kind of looks like he's crossing his eyes a little bit. I think that's just the nature of once you choose a focus point, you kind of need to stick to it. But that was based on that guy. Made it with Google Blocks as well. And I wireframed the right hand side of it. And you can see it here. And the idea was just to use that as a kind of like guide. But the Hull brushes are really cool because you can do things like this. Let me just show you some of the things that I've kind of been finding. So if we choose a skin color, and so you can see there's a bit of a thing that needs to be fixed here, but let's forget about that for now. Let's focus on this bit here. So let's just kind of like come down here, go around here, and let's go up, and you're gonna start pulling. You need to remember where you started, but you're gonna start pulling the brush, and you got a neck, and that's it. And then you're gonna do the body, and so you kind of like, let's start from here. You draw kind of the line up to here, you bring it down to show the full shape of the body up to here, and then you draw the kind of like the waist, right? You stretch it out like that, and then from here you start bringing it up slowly, and you can see that the brush kind of like adapts the rest of the body to that shape. Oops, putting it in the wrong way. This is the way to go. I can't stretch, so I want to show you something. So that's fine, right? Yeah, I want to see if we can do this character in Unity. That was his thought. I think this one's looking like it's heading into a good shape for a character. So I'm gonna finish doing it and then see if you can wide it up and see if we can get it into a Unity game or something like that. But the other thing I wanted to show you is this. So let's take the same kind of approach here. You kind of have your body, right? You got your body shape here. Now, if you wanna start getting shoulders out, this is the challenge here that you need to get your head around. This expands everything. See, all down here. This is how the tool behaves, right? So the way you can do this, but then there's another thing. There's another thing. So let's get this shape again. So we kind of like this shape for the body. You kind of want to add some shoulders here, right? So you kind of like build your shoulder. Now it's possible that you start noticing that. Let me show you. I'm gonna show you that it doesn't quite look like it's going into the body correctly. So what you want to do is, once you've got your shape and you're going into here, the further in you go into the other object, so we're kind of like in the middle now, you can move forward like that, and it will have a very soft move. See, so you can kind of like make it start fitting with the other shape, so that you can make it adapt to the other shape and kind of come up with a new edge, a new border for that shape. So it's pretty cool in that. You know, I made a mistake there, but if I move it away again, that's it. See, it kind of covers a mistake, and you've got a new shape there. You can see how quickly you can get a nice, a fairly well looking kind of shape that maybe a bit square, maybe looking a bit square, but the good thing about it, so now you can paint on top of it. You have a really nice base to start drawing on top and adding details and things like that. This gives you a really good body to start working, and you know, just need to get around the idea of these things, right? So the idea of starting here, like probably going around onto here, lifting it up and throwing it in the right place. But you know, you get my point, you get my drift, and you just expand it. And then here you need to be careful, because no, you don't want to expand everything, you just want to expand everything up to here, and once that's expanded there, you want to expand everything up here. Right? So really quickly you got some kind of like really good kind of body shape to work off. Yeah, it's a bit square in this case. It should take more time to do it, but that's the general gist of it. So yeah, once this guy is done, we'll give it a go of not wiring. What am I saying? Setting up in Unity and rigging it. That's what I was looking for, and seeing what we can do with it. See if we can get it moving and doing a bit of running around and a bit of I'm not sure. You probably can. But my thought was if you could, I thought you could rig a skeleton in it and sort of tell it like these are the shape, these are the forms, and so you know that's what it would move. You know, that's what I thought you could do. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can do it in Blender, so maybe I can try doing it in Blender. This is the ignorance of not having done it before. But I'll tell you what I'll do once this is done. I'll send it to you and we'll see if we can work out. And if we can't work on it like that way, then we'll see of a way to creating things separately. Because what you can do, what can be done is this. You just take the hand. Just take the hand, the arm, like that. Let's get rid of this. Let's move it here. I missed a bit, but you get my drift. And you just kind of like start working here. And well, you got the two arms separate, and you can work on them separately. But I don't know how that behaves. I don't know how that exports. We'll have to do some tests. But I'm quite happy with his face. He looks mischievous. He looks naughty. We can do something with him. Loki's revenge or something. I don't know. So I think that's it for today on this. Hopefully I'll come back with some more videos of gaming very soon. Go back into the retro gaming, and I'll be moving everything to my all the Tilbrush stuff. I'll probably be moving them all to my other account. You see the news, the notices in my Twitter. But get in touch. Okay, we'll try it out. We'll try it out. I know what you mean. Just separating things on the side and building them here, and not having the connection. You can kind of like there, and then you probably will want actually if you want to have an articulation there, you probably need the arm to be separate, and you probably need the hand to be separate as well, and then you probably need the fingers to also be separate, and so on. Well, we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can do. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. For today. Let me just get back. I've been doing some other stuff. Fullmetal Alchemist, a lot of it. I'm gonna leave for now, and I'm gonna leave it for now, and we'll you can see the details here of how it was all being done with the little strokes. I'll probably redo those Fullmetal Alchemist ones. I think there's a lot of work that could have been done better. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for coming over, and I'll see you Soraka Healer tomorrow, and I'll see everyone else on the next stream. Give me a shout. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this, and I'll see you around. Let me just I'll leave you with I probably can leave this now running, right? You can see there the detail. Righty. See you around. Bye bye.